welcome back to our Clin d'œil series. So this is a series that Melissa and I decided to start just before we went on vacation.
Yeah.
And so it's actually, we're back on track. And we actually had a really nice question on Instagram recently.
Yeah, on the heels of us posting pictures on Instagram about our travels and our trips, somebody asked us, if we could talk a little bit about what kinds of things we like to knit on holiday and what kinds of considerations we take into account.
It's funny because I was like, well, we should have done this before travel season, you know?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is we've done quite a few trips, like we've done plane trips, road trips. So it's sort of fresh in our mind. So this is sort of a clin d'œil that you can watch again before you go on a trip, just to kind of remind
and maybe
you.
we'll put another link to it next spring.
Right, so that we can remind people. But now we're in a time, I think, in the world where people travel all the time. And they do weekend trips and road trips and all kinds of stuff. So I think the first thing we wanted just to touch on a bit of what types of projects do you knit when you're traveling?
When you're thinking of going. Yeah. So what do you
well, it's the first thing that
it really depends.
Yes, it depends on what kind of it depends on what kind of trip you're taking, what mode of transportation, right?
Yeah, of course. It also depends on where I am in particular projects, because I might decide that I'm not going to take any of the projects I'm working on my actual trip, and I have to come up with something new. Socks are always an option.
Yeah, a lot of people, they find that easy. It's transportable. They can bring a pair of socks. Like I was working on my Heidi Kermeyer Sunshine Coast sweater, and because there's just a little bit of a pattern on the side with increases and decreases that I had to pay attention to, I knew this was not the type of trip.
The one to bring on.
Because the trip I went on this summer was, I took a plane to Europe, and then I did a road trip. So we were changing, we were moving a lot, we were in the
different
car.
hotel all the time,
and
friends.
And then seeing people, friends. And so I didn't want to be bogged down with my knitting. I wanted super, super easy knitting. So what I decided to do was I cast on specifically for the trip this Jade Sapphire parallelogram.
Which is just a great big, it starts out with some increases, but then it's just a great big rectangle.
Exactly.
Right?
So I cast on and did all my increases on my edge first before my trip.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Sometimes before your trip, you plan where you're going to get to in a project. So I planned to finish the cast on and start the stockinette. So I knew that on the trip, all I had to do was stockinette.
Right.
That was it. I didn't have to think about anything else.
And you mentioned your decreases when you come home.
Yes. And you mentioned that about a sweater too, Melissa, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, if I'm doing a top-down sweater and I want to bring it with me on a trip, what I like to do is get past the yoke where I've
used that as an example.
Yeah, where I've gotten to the point where I have sort of separated my sleeves and I'm just knitting back and forth. And, this is great for top-down sweaters as well. I had another example over here. But, once you're past this, it's usually just straight down.
With, like, sometimes a few increases, but you put markers on.
I also like to take things, we talked about this before, Lise, when you're, you have a project and you've got, like, a big chunk of it that you've kind of been avoiding.
Yes.
So you're going to be in the car.
Like your sleeves.
Like sleeves, exactly. So I have a project that needs sleeves. That's the only thing I'm going to bring on a road trip, because I'm stuck in the car. Or if I have a huge project with a I-cord bind off or a Pico edge bind off that's going to take me hours, I'll bring that in the car as the thing that I'm trapped there doing with no distraction and
and you have no other option
of pulling anything else out.
Because either it's your only project or the other one is in the suitcase in the trunk and you can't stop.
Yeah.
So that's a really good psychological point.
So getting your project to a certain point, or just bringing along something. This is just a rectangular wrap. Lisa, we talked about this one. So this one has a little bit of lace, and so this is perhaps not ideal for the kind of knitting you were talking about, where you need to pay a little bit of attention to a chart or a pattern, but ideal for quiet time on the beach. Yeah. And you're or sitting in your hotel or airport departure lounge, and it's kind of that you have a little bit of time to concentrate, then this is good because it's a lot of resting and then a little bit of stitching.
when Melissa and I were sort of talking about what kind of projects do you take when you knit, really it depends on you as a person, because you can knit anything anywhere. You can knit cables as
like Emily can do cables
as she's walking to the check-in at the airplane.
Exactly.
So it really depends. I can't do that. I get too distracted. I have a hard time knitting and then being in a social setting. So I like things that are really simple. So you can knit anything. The important thing is to know yourself as a person and what kind of a knitter you are, and then to gauge the projects. So if you're going on a vacation that's like super restful, you're on a beach, you're in and you've got like hours to just sit and contemplate, and you want to work on that chart or that cable or the lace.
I still Yeah. Just the way you were describing that, I was like, yeah, no, that's actually when I want to not have to concentrate, that I really bring the processing, the mindless stuff, you know, especially if you know you're going to be socializing and maybe having a glass or two of wine or a cocktail on.
Because as you've seen some of our Instagram posts, we have a glass of wine with us, but, you know, then I need a simple project.
Then you need a simple project.
So, and then sometimes too, you know, it also depends on the season.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might want to bring a linen project if you're going down south. Like we knit all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if we're going to be going, you know, I've knit on a beach under a palapa, but I'm not going to knit with wool. I'm going to knit with linen or cotton.
Although I knit with cashmere poolside in Vegas.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, again, maybe some people doesn't bother them.
No.
You know, some people might get sweaty hands, and so they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's really just to understand the season. Do you need to finish something? What attention do you need to bring to your project?
Yeah.
And really, my favorite one is what Melissa said. When you know there's something you've been avoiding, that's the one to bring on the project.
Especially the road trip.
Yeah.
And especially the road trip. I don't know why that is, but more so than because I love knitting in airport departure lounges. To me, that's just like a treat I look forward to. I have no idea why. It's like an hour or two, but it's just like, you know, all the stress of getting ready for your trip. And all the packing and all the preparation, and then you've been through security, and you have to wait to get onto your plane, and now you just have this time where it's really like the first time you're relaxing in a couple of days, probably, right?
Yeah.
There's something about that hour or two that I just love. So
and you know, some people, it's interesting because they get anxious, they're waiting, but when you're knitting, you don't mind waiting.
You don't mind waiting.
And like, the plane is delayed. I just get to knit a little bit more, you know.
No problem.
So that's, and you know, on that note as well, you know, people talk about, can you bring knitting with you on the plane? Melissa and I have never had a problem. We've traveled in a lot of countries. We have been to Africa, Europe, South America, you know, and there are leaving Canada and the U.S., we've never heard of any problems.
Yeah.
Some countries, when you come, like especially in the Caribbean, like there's Mexico, Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
I've heard of people having
trouble
coming back. But very few. I would say of all the people, maybe we've heard like 4 or 5 stories
in all our years.
And all the people have traveled. So, and you know, with metal needles, with DPNs,
no
with
problem.
Just straights. We haven't just taken straights. It's always been circulars.
I will still. I always check when I'm checking in. I always ask, and they'll, you know, just to be sure, and just so that I have the option. If they say absolutely not, that I have the option of putting it in my checked baggage before I get on the plane. But
see, I've never done that because for me, it's the people at security, because they're the ones who make the decision and not the airline. So what I always do is I have I print out from the Canadian Border Services Agency. I print out what it says you're allowed to bring, and on there it says you're allowed to bring knitting needles. So I print that out and I have it in case I've been questioned. I have never been questioned in the 8 years I've been knitting. I also always bring an extra set of needles in my luggage of the same size in case
you have to jettison your...
Yes, in case they have to be confiscated, then I have an extra pair.
You can knit on the other end.
So we've had great experience. All of our staff have had great experience, but we have heard a few, so it's not like 100% guaranteed. So that's in terms of knitting for...
So that being said, there are some products that we like to take with us when we travel. Do you want to talk about those? So on
the heels. So these are Fiskars. They're folding travel scissors. So these are TSA approved scissors, and they fold. You're actually
it's 4 inches, right? Or
I can't remember, but it's the shaft. If you go on the Canadian Border Canadian agent, that one, or TSA, it tells you the shaft of scissors you're allowed.
And I think they have to be less than 4 inches, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. And when I was on my last trip, there was a woman who was a hairdresser, and she had scissors that were like, the shaft was this big.
Really?
And the guy actually took out the measuring tape and measured them.
Really?
Yeah. So he would have let her pass if they were under, but they were way over.
Yeah, of course.
So so there might want to check that out. So you could bring regular scissors, but these kind of seem like just more innocuous. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, these are a great quality pair. I mean, we've also used, just that little, there's a little yarn cutter that's included in one of our interchangeable needle kits. That's great as well. Then there were the puppy snips. I don't think
the puppy snips.
Those little tiny snips that you can just clip onto the side of your project bag if you have those. But these ones are a good good quality one that's going to last
won't
you
break.
and that you know for sure have been approved.
And so whenever I travel, also especially we're talking more about a plane, is that I make sure that I don't bring my full notions case, because sometimes there's things in there that I don't need.
Yeah.
And I don't. So what I do is I use this like little one from Jezebel, so it's her little small notions case, and then I just put sort of the essentials of what I need in there. So I always have a chibi with some of my darning needles. I have my measuring tape. I always have the small, the needle gauge, and this one just if I need to measure 2 inches. A little row counter because I don't know, I might have amnesia and I might need a row counter, and then stitch stoppers. I don't use stitch stoppers often, but when I travel I tend to do it because I'm shifting my bags around, and so they can easily come off. So I just take a couple of pairs, and these are our new favorites. They're by Coco Knits, and she has the large size and the smaller size, and these are really squishy and soft, and they're some of the best. So I put a couple of each size in my little case, and then I just have my little stitch markers and then the locking stitch marker. So that's what I take with me on the plane. And I have my Fiskars scissors, but I left them at home because I'm not traveling.
And so in terms of it, I'm not wearing it today, but I tend to wear my wrist ruler pretty religiously. So these are wrist rulers by a company called I Love Handles. I'm sure many of you have seen these already. And they're great because they have all your measurements in inches and centimeters on there, and they go up to 15, 16, or 17 inches depending on the size that you buy. So that's what I take, and then I tend to take my notions case separately in my luggage as well when I'm flying. Yeah. Yes, of course.
So, and then also I forgot too, there's these little fix a stitch too, and they're plastic. So, and I usually have one of these also in my notions pouch for traveling. Another way too of traveling is these little sock and go cases. Melissa, do you have the? Oh, here they are. So this is the new one. This is an older one that we had and we modeled this. This is a new little Espace Tricot product that we developed with zigzag stitches. It's the same idea, but this is just the one that I had previously. And so this is what I use when I travel more in the car. So I don't bring this on the plane, but I'll put this in the car when I'm traveling, and I'll have my scissors. Yeah, I'll have my fix-a stitches, my cable needles, darning needles, and then I over here I have a locking stitch marker from Coco Knits, and then I put my little stitch markers
on there. So you've got everything right there.
So I have everything here.
That's how I've set mine up like that as well.
And then I usually throw in a measuring tape as well. So in the car, either I'll take my big one or I'll take like a little one just because I'm working on a specific project. So that's good for that.
Well, and speaking of car knitting, what I like to, this is my favorite go-to bag for when I'm traveling by car, because this is the Buku box tote. And I think I've Instagrammed my travel knitting a few times. Whenever I'm going on a road trip, I always put because this just sits perfectly at your feet in the car. So I put my project in, all my yarn, my pattern, everything. I put it on on the floor at my feet, and everything is just easy,
and it's wide.
Access in and out. Exactly.
And it's wide, so you can put your notions pouch in there. You can put your project, everything, and that I use that a lot too when I'm traveling in the car.
Exactly.
It sits right on the floor
next to you.
And that's really
that's my.
Because it's nice when you're traveling to have your nice products as well, so that's really fun for that.
I'm just going to open the door.
Yeah, for Tatiana, our cleaning lady is here on Monday. So that's that box tote is a great one for traveling. I mean, you can use these products for any kind of travel. It just depends.
Not travel specific, but they're the ones the kind of things that we go to when we're traveling, right? One of the things that I like to have with me too when I'm traveling is my needle protectors, because things are moving, things are shifting. You're shoving your stuff in the trunk maybe with your luggage, and so and I have broken a couple of needles in the past, or bent needles. Yes. So
especially if you're working with wood needles, they tend thinner sizes.
Yes, exactly. I've broken some bamboo needles in the past, so I like to use my needle keeper. So you can just stick your needles right in. You can stick them both in one end or one in each end, and stick your project in your bag, and your needles are completely protected. So,
and on that note too, you have the Needle Nook, who Dave developed this. He's a retired artisan, and he works out of his garage and makes these nice little needle nooks. So what's great is if you're a sock knitter and on the go, you don't want to lose your DPNs. You put everything in here. So your project that's already started, you put your the rest of your needles, and it has a really You heard that, a really
nice
strong magnet, and you just throw this in your bag so everything stays secure. We have them in 6-inch and 8-inch needles and sizes.
Cases, yeah.
And that's perfect. So that's another way too. So Melissa showed you on circulars, and this is a great DPN storage idea for you.
That one.
Travel gleaner. So go ahead. And talk about that.
You know, we're huge fans of the gleaner for depilling and delinting your stuff. So this is just a nice product to have with you when you are traveling, just for sprucing up the knits that you're already bringing with you and wearing. So it, just like the regular gleaner, it has the 3 different blades for sort of, I would say, finer fabrics to more heavier duty fabrics. They all live inside. It just clicks open, and then it also has the delinter on this side. So,
and you know, I'm not a person who, I never travel with that kind of stuff. And then Melissa and I were meeting in New York City.
Yeah,
and I was
right?
like, and I emailed her from the airport. I'm like, Liz, bring the gleaner. Yeah. So she popped that in her luggage for me. So I have to say, it's I guess I'm sharing a little bit more what I look like.
Yeah.
My products.
No, you wore something that shed a lot.
I think I was knitting something that shed a lot. So I needed that for that.
Yeah.
So that's a great product as well.
And also, if you know, when you're traveling, depending on how long you're traveling for, if you need to do laundry while you're away, these little travel packages of soak. And this is packaged as a sort of a multi-pack with I think 4 different scents in it. So they're single use, although I think you can actually use them.
Yeah, I use it for 2 actually.
Yeah, single use amounts for. You can use them for everything from lingerie to
everything.
To
so we have soak, and then we have Eucalan. So Eucalan, a lot of people use Eucalan with fine lingerie, not just for. I tend to use Eucalan more when I'm working with wools, alpaca,
for the lanolin replacement.
Yes, and I use soak for everything else. So soak for me can be used for everything. Eucalan I tend to use more with wool, but there are lots of people who use it for all kinds of delicates.
Yeah, and just in case there are some of you who are unfamiliar with these products, soak and Eucalan are great, very mild detergents for washing your woolens, and as Lisa mentioned, your lingeries, that kind of thing. But they're no rinse.
Yes.
So you just put a capful in the water, soak your garments for 15 minutes or so, and squeeze out the water and let it.
And you know what I did actually for my trip this time? I bought this bag. For those of you who do canoe camping, it's a dry bag. So it's like a stuffed sack, but it's waterproof. Yeah. So it's a special bag where inside it had these little bumps, like say at the bottom of a shoe.
Yeah. So it was for washing.
Yes. So you put and there's a valve.
Yeah.
So you put your water, your soap, your garments. Yeah. And then you open the valve to squish out all the air. You close the valve, and then you have that friction. Okay. And I used soak.
Obviously, don't use that for your woolens.
No, that's true. I use it for soak, but when I'm traveling, I wasn't necessarily with all my woolens. So I had this, and then I had a clothesline that I had on the in the bathroom that I stuck on what was like suction cup. Yeah. And so with my soak in the bag, I did hand wash in the hotel, and it was so nice. I mean, people can do it in the sink, but I tend to be a little more finicky, So I like the idea of the bag, but I did actually bring the soak with me on my trip, so that was really very handy. And then Eucalan too also has a single use. Oh yeah. So both companies have both.
Maybe the interchangeable kit that's just.
Oh yeah. So sometimes we bring yarn because we haven't started a project, right? And
or a project that requires multiple needle sizes.
So, this is the tulip kit that we just spoke about on a previous podcast. And what I like about this case is it's super compact and it has everything. So I would even think if I was knitting on metal, I might use the case and just switch out and put some metal needles if I was doing a metal project. Because I find the case is hard and compact. So when I travel with my interchangeables, I want a case that's hard. So I used to have an old Addy case that I used to put things in. Yeah. But this one is more compact, and I love the sleeve with the extra accessories.
Yeah, and you can see everything because it's a see-through mesh sleeve, and it also includes on the gauge ruler. You've also got the yarn cutter as well as the darning needles, which are included in that kit, which aren't included in most kits.
Now, I wouldn't bring this on the plane, but I would bring it in my luggage. Yeah. Because I wouldn't risk, just in case I had a crazy person at the security who wanted to take all my needles away.
I don't think they would take that away, but you never know.
No, you never know, exactly. So, and we have these little...
Oh, okay. So these are, I think this is
wait, one sec, Melissa. I forgot. The little gleaner comes in a little pouch. Like, seriously, how cute is that? Pouches. Oh, I love pouches. It's a bit ridiculous. I like have pouches and pouches.
These are great. These I think we just say these are just great for knitting on the go generally, right? Not necessarily just for traveling. But what this is a little branded needle gauge from Katrinkles that she made up for us. So this will allow you to measure your 2-inch stitch gauge at any moment.
Anywhere, standing, waiting for the bus, anywhere. And it's 2 inches, so you could like put it on you're
on your knee.
Your knee. You could put your project on your hand and measure.
And then this is again a little. These are just like great little keychains. You can put them. You can use them as keychains, or you can actually just attach them to your project bags. But this one, especially if you're a sock knitter and you're top down and you need your Kitchener stitch to close your toe, and every time it's like, oh, let me dig that out. Exactly. This is going to help you because it's got the Kitchener stitch explanation right on there. So I love this one.
Yeah,
actually.
so they've been very popular. Yeah. And another thing too is people talk about like how you store your projects when you're traveling. So I'm very particular about the kind of bags I use. So as Melissa mentioned, the Boku tote is great in the car. We both use it. We put it on our feet. When I travel, I love the no knits pouches. I also have a Bagu one that some people have seen on Instagram. It's a blue and white stripe one, but Bagu unfortunately isn't making those anymore, so we can't get our hands on them.
But these vinyl ones are great.
But these are really great, and they're round, so you can really stuff a lot in it. This is the medium size. This is the small size, I believe.
Yeah, this is small.
So I really like this because then I can squish it and I can put it in my carry-on. Or sometimes if I have to say I camp a lot, so when I'm camping, I don't want to bring my nice Boku tote.
Yeah, of course.
So I bring this because I bring it into the tent. I put it on the picnic table, and then it smells like fire from the campfire. So then I can wash them. They're so easy to wash and dry.
Yeah.
And also when I'm camping, we often have our hiking boots, and so when I'm in the car and it gets muddy on the floor, so I put this on the floor. So if I'm really, or if I'm at school too, if I go to Gianluca's school and like a lot of times my project is dragging on the floor or kids are like playing with them, I don't want to bring my nice Boku. So if I think it might get dirty or messy,
you'll use these ones.
And I need to be compact, I love these.
Yeah.
So
use these with that though.
Oh yeah, so it doesn't poke
so you don't break your needles, and so it doesn't poke through, and also to protect.
Yeah, that's it because it's so soft.
I've used these too on my last trip, but that's when I broke a bamboo needle because I squished it into a space.
Okay.
And then forgot that I had the wooden needles in there.
Or this too, if you're doing the sock size in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also I used to go watch my cousin's son play hockey all the time, and oftentimes we had to stand because the heated part was in an area where you had to stand. So I love the no knits because
you can hook it to your
on my belt.
Pants or
so I
belt
hook it to my belt. So that one I really liked. I liked for just on the go, whether I'm in Montreal, I'm in the city, or I'm traveling. Which brings us to the Jezebel.
Yeah, so this is call that bus stop knitting.
Yeah.
Waiting for the
and
metro,
chic.
Chic bus stop knitting. Waiting for the metro, the bus, standing at the soccer games, whatever. You've got your project in here, and you literally can just have your project hang off your arm and continue knitting with your yarn coming out of here. So, I mean, these come in small, medium, and large. This is an extra large.
Yes.
This is a medium size. I think you've got an extra large. I
have my sweater project right
This is a beautiful linen. We've got
this is the denim.
And then we've got a two-tone one, and we've got Jezebel sort of signature blue and white striped.
So these are great on the go, bus, metro, if you're in the city, wherever you're.
Again, the extra large one especially sits nicely at your feet.
You like the Boku, eh?
Yeah,
it kind of works the same
exactly.
way as the Boku.
Can we talk about these?
Yeah, the low key. So these are really not just they're not for knitters. I actually see them in different shops around the city. So these are low-key bags. They're, those reusable shopping bags. So this gives you an example of what this one looks, and they're really, it works kind of, I use them the same way. Oh, here, should we show the little picture?
Can you see it?
But here, it shows you there.
Oh, yeah.
So it gives you an idea of what it looks like. So they have all different colors and styles.
So they're great because they open up, and the bag can just be shoved right back into the square carrier bag, or you can use this little bag for other little things that you need to store and carry with you, and then throw it into the bigger bag, and it holds about 44 pounds, I think.
Yeah, and I do
so actually, a lot of groceries.
Groceries, like I only use these. I don't use those harder plastic grocery bags. I always have two with me.
Yeah,
and so I use them. Shopping, groceries, buying clothes, anything, knitting,
just
whatever.
Have those,
And some people use these as their knitting bag.
Yeah, as project bags, or to put a few of their project bags in this as their, take with them bag. And then these were just fun. They're made with the same material, and they're actually like drawstring knapsacks.
And this has a little pocket, so I actually use this a lot when I'm on my bike, and I put my keys here so I have access for my lock. And this works for us the same way as the no knits pouches work. That they're nylon, easy to wash. So if I have a bigger project and I'm going camping, I'm going in a place where, like soccer, a lot of times when I'm at soccer, I plop that down.
Yeah. So I have this one in silver, and I use it for sweater projects.
So great. It's really, really handy, and throw it in my bike basket as well. And then this is our last, you want to talk about this one, Melissa?
Well, this one I like because it has a lot more structure. So this is actually, we just talked about this on a full podcast, but these are a new line of boxy bags that we've developed with Catherine of Zigzag Stitches. And so these are exclusive to Espace Tricot. And so we've done them in denim and canvas, but what's nice about them is that they are fully lined and interfaced, so they have a lot of structure, and they will just sit wherever you put them, and they hold quite a lot. They hold, I've done a good part of sweater projects in these ones as well. They don't look like they would hold a sweater, but they do. Rolled up, they actually do. And again, they can just hang on your arm, and you can leave it a little bit open.
And what's nice too is if you're a person who really wants it to be closed securely, because the other ones are open, so this closes. So sometimes when I do go on a plane, I also take this one because I want it to be secure and closed, and then I can hang it from.
And this one slides. I mean, in all of my I have great big handbags that are sort of open at the top, and this I find slides down nicely next to my laptop and my my
and
wallet
it was so
and my
pretty.
phone. Yeah, exactly. So and then I can. It's just like an add-on organizer section of my bag,
and nothing's going to fall out.
And nothing's going to fall out. There's a pocket on the inside to keep, if you want to include a little bit, a few of your notions, and then you can connect your gauge ruler or your Kitchener stitch thing there, and you're good to knit on the go.
Look at our lights, Melissa. I forgot about
what? Oh, our headlamps and our
that's a big important part of our knit.
Yeah. So these aren't.
Talk about these ones. This one.
I like this one.
This one I didn't take that one.
So this one I actually used a lot on my holiday this summer, partly for knitting and partly actually just for knitting and reading in bed. So this was a great little add-on for, when I was knitting. You don't have batteries?
No, I took them out. I took them out because I don't like to store batteries because sometimes they
leak or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so it has 3 different intensities and then a red light. So if you have a flat tire and you need to alert somebody at the side of the road.
If you're in the car and you're knitting, it doesn't bother.
If you're knitting at night, it points at. Yeah, if you're the passenger. Did I say what?
No, it's good. You said passenger, not while you're
not while you're driving.
Yeah.
So yes, I used that a lot actually when we were road tripping in Europe. So Johannes was driving, and so this points down at your knitting, so it's not distracting to oncoming traffic or to the driver.
And it's close to your knitting, like it's kind of at a lower angle. See, before Melissa found this on Amazon, so there's so many different kinds, and they're so inexpensive.
Yeah, they're not expensive. We don't sell these, but you can find them.
You can find them on Amazon. And then, because what I used to do before, let me do my nice little demo, is I have my camping Petzl headlamp.
This was Lisa in the car.
This is me in the
pointing
car. Pointing down. So I'm doing like that, but then Sean can't ask me a question because then I do this So this is how I used to go before we had those. Yeah. So I use that, and then sometimes if it was bothering Sean, then I would put it down there.
Oh,
and
that's
then
not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, and you can angle it like there's that. And then the other thing too, sometimes I do is I put it on the visor.
Oh yeah.
And actually, I can angle it so it doesn't bother Sean. It depends.
Really? Or the driver's coming.
No, it depends, like what kind of driving we're doing, where we are, like, if there's a lot of light or not light or whatever. So sometimes I manage it that way as well. But I have to say the best is when it's either hanging or when it's down. So you never want to be without the opportunity to knit. So a light,
especially if you're a passenger in a car.
So the light is always, I always have that light with me. And then another little trick I do, which I don't have a pattern with me, is if I'm working on a pattern and it's a repeat, what I like to do is I like to fold my patterns so that, say I have the little section that I'm supposed to repeat.
Just the little section that you're working on?
So say I'm working on this little section. So what I do is if I'm on the airplane, and where you have the tray, there's a little clip.
Yeah.
I put it under the clip. So it sits there, and then I also can hang my project bag from that if I don't want to put it on my seat.
Okay.
So that's what I do. And then also what I do in the car is where the glove compartment is. I fold it and I stick it in the glove compartment, and then it's right there.
That's hilarious.
So that's one thing I do. Another thing I do is I take the ball and I stick it in the
I do that too.
So
I do that too, especially if it's a center pull ball. It's perfect.
So you just stick it in the door. So that's another travel thing that
travel
that
trick.
Exactly. And was there any other travel tricks that we know of? The lighting. Oh, there was something and it just slipped my mind. The bags, the lighting. Oh yes, I shouldn't say that. We leave the house almost always with our knitting. Lesson to Melissa. So for us, traveling
I always leave with my knitting. But
always.
One time I didn't. I got a flat tire, and next thing I knew, I was hours without my knitting.
She's like stuck. Opportunity to do her sleeves.
Opportunity lost.
And so when we say travel with knitting, plane, train, car,
grocery
bus,
store,
groceries, soccer game, hockey game, doctor's office,
everywhere.
Even coming to the store, because God forbid you be stuck in this big accident. You're not injured, but there was an accident. The highway's blocked. You're like 3 hours sitting there. It actually happened in Montreal.
Yeah, I remember. They were 3 or 6 hours or something.
Imagine if you didn't have your knitting, you'd die more because you'd be more upset because you didn't have your knitting. So even if we're just running to the grocery store, Melissa.
Yes, we always have it. Well, you know how many comments I received after I posted that on Instagram? People who have, learned that lesson, and they actually keep a permanent project in their glove compartments.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I thought that was, and they have one everywhere, basically.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's nothing worse for a knitter than being without your knitting. So every time I go to buy a new purse, the test is always, can I fit my knitting in it with all my other stuff? And so, so those are kind of our little
tips and ideas and tricks and things that we use, and, nothing totally innovative, but just things that, we've learned and
worked well for us. And
another
thing too is using markers and stitch markers and progress keepers. I think are a great way to keep you on track when you're traveling as well, because I'm a person that I could forget things. So just putting where I did my increases. So when I'm traveling, because sometimes I might have gone and done other things and come back to my project.
Yeah, and then you just forget.
I'm like, oh, okay, these are my increases. I don't have to look and figure it out. So, everyone's a different kind of knitter. Some things people might be rolling their eyes and go, oh my God, it's obvious you need to do that. But for me, it's a great way just to make it brainless.
Yes,
and
which is what you want on a holiday.
You don't necessarily want to stress, or you're moving in and out and you're not necessarily remembering.
And
so
it should just be, everything on holiday should be as relaxed as possible.
Yeah. Right? So these are they're not really progress keepers, they're just locking stitch markers, but you can get prettier
there are lots of pretty
which
ones
we also sell in the store. So what's important is to kind of know what kind of trip you're taking.
Yeah.
What kind of conditions, what kind of knitter you are, what kind of conditions you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you gonna be alone? Are you gonna be socializing?
Yeah, are you going to be moving a lot?
Yeah.
In and out of different modes of transportation? Yeah. So,
are you camping or 5-starring it?
Yeah, exactly. Are you on the metro and you have 4 stops to go? So is it stuff that you can pick up and put down anytime? So maybe, leave us some comments with what are your tips and tricks and
that would be great, actually. And products you like to use.
Yeah, so maybe we'd have a part 2 and then incorporate all your stuff in there.
Okay,
great.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
That was helpful to some of you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.